Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of Theo Mann Rewrites. This is where we have some fun. We take stories from popular culture, pull them apart, tear them to pieces, and figure out everything the writers did wrong and how we would rewrite the story to make them better. And today, we're rewriting every mystery, or practically every mystery ever written. I'm thinking Nancy Drew, I'm thinking the Hardy Boys, I'm thinking almost every single cozy mystery novel that is on the market right now. We're going to talk about everything wrong with the mystery genre and where the writers go wrong and where they need to improve. So the first problem, the most glaring problem with all these mysteries, is that the sleuth character doesn't actually solve the mystery. The writer generally follows a formula where they plant the clues along the way for the sleuth to find, and the ending is supposed to be a surprise to the reader. The idea is to throw the reader for a loop so that they never see it coming. They don't know who the culprit is until the very end of the book. And the vast majority of mystery writers make the mistake of making this a surprise to the sleuth as well. The culprit's identity, the person that actually committed the crime, is a surprise to the sleuth, and the sleuth is not the one who figures out who the culprit is. And that's a mistake because it means they're not a sleuth and they haven't figured it out. It's just makes them look stupid, which is my second point, which is that normally these characters blunder along, they make a lot of incredibly stupid mistakes, and the villain makes a lot of incredibly stupid mistakes too. 90% of these villains could have gotten away scot-free if they either committed the crime and then drove straight to the airport and left the country, and no one would ever have known who committed that crime. Or the other option is that they stick around, and when they have their final confrontation with the sleuth, the villain shoots their mouth off and confesses everything, and that's what gets them caught. The sleuth would never have been able to prove that the person did it if the culprit just kept their mouth shut. 90% of the time, the only evidence against the person is their own confession. And if you know anything about the law, you know that that's not enough to convict somebody. Somebody saying that they committed a crime is not enough to convict, even if you had it recorded, which most of these stories they don't have. The sleuth's testimony that they had confessed is the only evidence against them. And because the sleuth is such a bumbler, they have no other evidence to prove it anyways. So almost every mystery on the market makes this mistake. That if the culprit just kept their mouth shut and never said a word about it, never got involved, never slashed the sleuth's tires or hit them over the head or left them a threatening note or any of that stupid nonsense, the sleuth would have been completely in the dark. Everybody would have. And the case would have been closed and the culprit would have gotten off scot-free. So that's the other problem that we have, is that the villains are all unbelievably stupid and bumbling as well. And they're the ones who wind up getting themselves caught. And that's a giant mistake. The other big mistake is that most of the time, the culprit's identity is not a mystery to the reader, because in most mystery book series and TV shows, movies, all this sort of thing, the writer has a cast of recurring characters. You know, it's the sleuth's friends, family, people who are, law enforcement officers who make a recurring appearance in these series. And And the audience already knows going into it that none of these people are the culprit. So most of the time, any new character that happens to be involved is going to be the culprit. You know, in the Hardy Boys, the most recent installment of the Hardy Boys series, 90% of the stories, the culprit, the perpetrator of the crime, is whoever one of the boys is going out with that week. Because it's a new person in the story, and it just makes the sleuth look stupid that they got involved with someone when there's all these clues pointing to the fact that their significant other is the culprit that they're looking for. And they just deliberately turn a blind eye to it. And that's a mistake too. So what you need to do is either bring in a much larger cast of new people, or not have all the same supporting characters, and have the new people who are actually involved in the plot be so few that it's obvious from the beginning that this person is acting suspiciously. Any of us in normal life would be able to tell instantaneously that this person was acting suspiciously, that they were in the wrong place at the wrong time, that they were setting up all these red flags of abusive, manipulative behavior, lying, showing up randomly when it's not appropriate. We would all be able to pick that up. And the fact is that we can pick it up in the story. And it just makes the sleuth look thick that they don't see it when we do. So that's just a little bit of fun to talk about everything wrong with the mystery genre these days. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next week.